What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a look at the second part of the FAQ from the Transformers trading card game. You see, there's a new set out, War for Cybertron Siege 2. With it comes a new FAQ. Yesterday we looked at the, as I like to call it, categories. Things like combiners, for instance. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, we need to take a look at all of the individual cards. So without further ado, let's start off having a look at four-wheel drive. Now, there are quite a few to go through here, so we're going to go as fast as we can. Fingers crossed we get through it all. Now, four-wheel drive, lovely card. Until the end of turn, one of your trucks gets base attack of 7. So if you play it on a truck and later in the turn it flips so it's no longer a truck, goes into bot mode, what happens? If a character stops being a truck, four-wheel drive stops applying and its base attack will revert to whatever's printed on the card. Something like Power Sword, you can attach to a melee character and then it just gives you bold free, regardless of whether you're still a melee character or not, whereas this specifically only ever applies to trucks. How do other attack bonuses work with four-wheel drive? Changing a character's base attack is just like changing the number that's printed on the card, and from there you can boost it as much as you want. So for instance, if you've got a truck with free attack, upgraded with Indestructible Sword, which gives it +2 attack, it will then be 9. 7 from the four-wheel drive, plus 2 from Indestructible Sword. Whereas if it stops being a truck, it will go back down to 5, base attack of 3, 2 from Indestructible Sword. Backfire is a lovely new secret action. You reveal it when one of your Decepticons defends, and when it is revealed you do damage to the attacker equal to the number of upgrades on the attacker. If the damage done by Backfire is enough to KO the attacker, does the attacker still do damage? No. You reveal Backfire before the battle cards are flipped. If Backfire KOs the attack will end and you don't even get round to ever flipping any cards. This is, of course, very consistent with rules we've seen in the past. So if we go back to Wave 2, for instance, we had that there Dinobot upgrade, electrified spikes. When you attack a Dinobot to which it is attached and the defender flips 2 orange icons, you do 1 damage to the attacker. If cheeky damage KOs before the attack happens, you don't even flip any cards. Multi-missile pod. Now it can only be put on planes or helicopters. Up to 3 can fit in 1 weapon slot, and when you attack you may scrap it and do damage to each enemy equal to the number of multi-missile pods scrapped. So if you've got 3 and you fire all the missiles, what happens? Although you can totally fire all the missiles, you still do it one at a time. So first you scrap one that does a damage, then you scrap the second to do 2 damage, then you scrap the last one to do 3 damage. That is 6 damage total. This actually makes the card significantly better than I thought it was initially. I assumed that if you scrapped 3, you did 3 damage, but that is not actually true. First one does 1, the second one does 2, the third one does 3, which makes it kind of reminiscent of Cargo Trailer and approximately 1 billion times better than it was, well, that I and a lot of other people assumed it was. This makes it a really nice card. Battlefield Incursion lets you deploy a character from under your Trypticon assault base to the battlefield. Can I play it if there are no characters under Trypticon? You can. Doesn't actually do anything, but you can play it. Now this might be kind of relevant because, of course, take something like Green Light. Green Light gets +1 attack for every green icon card played during your turn. So even though you don't actually do anything here, Private Green Light wants you to play it to get the +1 attack. It doesn't do anything, but it may well interact with other cards. Blast Suit. Blast Suit is an armor, and if the upgraded character would take attack damage, it takes half that damage rounded down, and you scrap the card. Alrighty then. So let's say you got a character with 10 health, 8 damage counters, and a Blast Suit. I also have Heroic Resolve face down. Now, Heroic Resolve is the new upgrade here, secret action. You reveal it if one of your Autobots would take enough damage to be KO'd, and when it is revealed, you put it at 1 health instead, and it actually does survive for a moment at least. Probably not going to last too much longer, but for the time being, it totally survives. My opponent attacks and my character would take free attack damage. What happens? And the answer is, if there are multiple abilities trying to modify how much attack damage the upgraded character would take, the controller of that character decides the order in which to apply them. So you could either go reveal Heroic Resolve, instead of taking 3 damage, your character is now taking 1 damage, enough to drop it to 1 health. Blast Suit applies, the 1 rounds down to 0, which is half of 1 rounded down. Your character ends up taking no damage and Blast Suit is scrapped. Or you can apply Blast Suit first. Instead of taking 3 attack damage, your character is now taking 1 attack damage, which is half of 3 rounded down, 1.5 rounds down to 1. This isn't enough attack damage to KO your character, so Heroic Resolve stays face down. Generally speaking, the first one is better because you take no damage, but if your opponent has another attack to go before the end of their turn, Blast Suit first is definitely the way to go. Composite armor can only be put onto tanks, and when the upgraded character defends, you scrap this card after the battle, and if you flipped at least 1 black icon, you do 1 damage to the attacker. If you flip at least 1 black icon during battle, when does composite armor actually do the 1 damage to the attacker? The damage is done after the battle, just after you scrap composite armor. Now this is of course very, very important because the attack still happens. This comes in at the end. If I didn't flip a black battle icon during the battle, do I still have to scrap it? Yes, unfortunately you totally do. Contract Contingency is an action card that gives one of your characters +2 attack until end of turn, and if you do 4 or more attack damage to an enemy without KOing it, you get to use one of the chosen character's bounty abilities. Can I choose a character that doesn't have a bounty ability just to give it the +2 attack bonus? Yeah, that's fine. You get +2 attack and it does nothing else, but you still at least get to do that. COUP. COUP is a secret action. You reveal it when a character is KO'd, and when revealed, you use a bounty ability of one of your cards on the battlefield. If the character that was KO'd was one of my characters with a bounty ability, can I use that ability? And the answer is no. The character gets KO'd. When the KO happens, you reveal COUP, and then you can use a bounty ability of one of your cards on the battlefield. Unfortunately, the one that got KO'd is no longer there. You can't use it. Crowbar gives you +2 attack, and when you attack, you scrap the card after battle. If it is put onto a character during a battle after it attacks, is it scrapped after the battle? And the answer is no. The ability triggers only if the character is holding the crowbar as it attacks. If crowbar appears after that point, Metal Detector would be a good example of a card which could attach it after the attack had started, then it can stay for at least 1 more attack. So for instance, if you had a backup bag would save it, and then it would be there for a second attack. CRUDE Club. CRUDE Club, the upgraded character has +1 attack for each upgrade on it. Does that include CRUDE Club? Yes. You get +1 attack if that's the only upgrade. The key here is it says each upgrade, not each other upgrade. Daring Escape. This is a really fun one. For each Autobot you have on the battlefield, you put the top card of your deck into the KO area face up. And if your deck and scrap pile are empty, you win the game right there and then. Okay, but are the cards revealed when they go into the KO area? And the answer is yeah. they go face up. Anything that is face up is common knowledge, and either player can look at them at any time. Just please don't be that person that grabs cards and starts looking at them without asking. Nobody likes that person. Decipher is an action, and for each enemy secret action that's face up or face down, you do 1 damage to each enemy. Well, if my opponent has secret actions in their hand, scrap pile, or even in their KO area, let's say even the score, do those count? No. Daring Escape only counts the secret actions in your opponent's play area, which has got to be the ruling, but come on, it's a lot less fun now. Defensive Configuration is an upgrade utility which gives the upgraded character an extra armor slot. When you put it on a character, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it is an armor, you play it onto the upgraded character. So say the upgraded character has 2 armors and a defensive configuration is scrapped. What happens? Well, in most cases, this means the character won't have enough armor slots to keep both of them. If it's your character, you choose which one to keep, and the other is scrapped. You only have 2 armor slots when defensive configuration is attached. As soon as you lose it, you've got to go down to 1 armor. Sorry. Dual Wield is a lovely action card. Gives one of your characters an extra weapon slot until end of turn. If that character is a mercenary, you may play a weapon from your scrap pile onto it. Well, at the end of the turn, the character will lose the extra weapon slot. Which weapon does the character keep? And the answer is just like we said with defensive configuration. It's your character, you decide, it's totally up to you. Energy Transfer is an action card that moves any number of damage counters from one of your characters to another, but not enough to KO it. Well, how does it interact with cards like Toolbox? Toolbox, as a nice little reminder says, if damage would be repaired from the upgraded character, you repair that much damage plus 1 extra damage. And the answer is it doesn't, because moving damage and repairing damage are not the same thing. Okay. Well, can I choose to move 0 damage counters? Yes. 0 is a number. You can even play Energy Transfer if you have only 1 character, or if none of your characters have any damage counters on them. It won't do anything, but it may affect other cards like we said earlier, and you'll get the orange icon back into your deck. When your scrap pile gets shuffled up and becomes your deck, there we go. Even the Score, that lovely card that I was lucky enough to be able to reveal. It is revealed when one of your Decepticons takes more than enough damage to be KO'd, and when it is revealed, you do the extra damage to the attacker, and then put this card in your KO area. Well, how does that interact with effects that modify how much attack damage a character takes, like Blast Suit, for instance? And the answer is that even the Score doesn't directly modify how much attack damage is being done to the character. It doesn't use the word instead. So it waits for effects like Blast Suit to apply, then it sees if the character is taking more than enough damage to be KO'd. I.e., you look at the total amount of damage that is actually done, and then the extra that isn't needed to KO is passed on to the attacker. Is the damage done attack damage? It is not. Only damage done by the attacker actually counts as attack damage. Damage done by other cards, like even the Score, isn't attack damage. And we saw this with cards like Steamroll. Steamroll passes on extra damage to another character if you overkill a character. And even though you attack and do too much damage, the extra damage moved over does not count as attack damage. Guarded Posture is a lovely card that gives you +2 defense, but -1 attack. So, say a character with a base attack of 0 has Guarded Posture, and then I put on a primary laser that would give it +2 attack. What is the character's attack? 1. You see, even though your attack cannot go below 0, it will still interact with other cards, so Primary Laser puts you from 0 up to 2, and then Guarded Posture puts you from 2 down to 1. And we did have a previous ruling about Erratic Lightning, which said that this will even count for cards that you flip while attacking or defending. So here, essentially the first orange icon you flip is ignored because your attack is reduced by 1. Head-on Collision is an action card. You choose one of your characters and it gets +3 attack while attacking in alt mode this turn. So if the chosen character attacks in alt mode, but then somehow flips to a different mode in the middle of the attack, does it keep the +3 attack bonus? No! The +3 attack bonus applies as long as the character is attacking and in alt mode. As soon as one of those isn't true, the bonus stops applying. However, if the character returns to alt mode while it's still attacking, the bonus would apply again. Heroic Resolve. Now, we did mention this card very briefly earlier. Heroic Resolve is that lovely one whereby if one of your Autobots would be KO'd, you essentially keep it with 1 health remaining. Cool. So how does Heroic Resolve resolve with other effects to try to modify how much attack damage is done to a character? And the answer is, if there are multiple abilities trying to modify how much attack damage the upgraded character would take, the controller of the card decides the order in which to apply them. Have a look at Blast Suit. There we go. Hi, Jack. Hi. Only joking, I'm not Jack. So, Hijack is a lovely little secret action. You reveal it if your opponent would draw a second card during their turn, and when it is revealed, if your opponent would draw a card this turn, you draw a card instead. So after you reveal Hijack, do you draw the card from your opponent's deck that they were going to draw? No! You always draw from your deck. Nothing happens to the card your opponent was going to draw. It stays on top of their deck. It would be a lot more fun if you could draw from your opponent's deck, but it would also be terrifying and weird, and I would get scared. Let's say my opponent plays Pep Talk, which just lets you draw 2 cards. Well, assuming they drew a card to start their turn, you reveal Hijack, and then instead of them drawing 2 cards, you draw 2 cards. And then, of course, Hijack is out there at that stage, so if your opponent tried to draw any more cards during their turn, and they probably wouldn't, right? But if they did, you would draw them instead from your own deck. Increased Durability gives a character +4 health. So let's say the upgraded character normally has 10 health, but you put an increased durability on there to put it up to 14. It then gets 12 damage counters. If increased durability is scrapped, what happens? And the answer is that any time a character has more damage counters than health, it is immediately KO'd. We saw this back in Wave 3 with Energy Pack and in pretty much every other trading card game ever, because there's usually a card like this. The moment you have too much damage to survive, you are KO'd, which is one of the downsides of playing a card like Increased Durability. Indestructible Sword, we mentioned it earlier, it gives you +2 attack, but when it is scrapped from a character, you return it to your hand. Well, does that count if the character is KO'd? Yes. Because when a character is KO'd, all the upgrades on it are scrapped, and when the Indestructible Sword is scrapped, it goes back to your hand. Cool. Involuntary Promotion lets you choose a character and return another character that has the same number of stars or fewer from your KO area to the battlefield fully repaired, and you move the damage counters and upgrades from the chosen character to the returned character and KO them. You swap a character of equal value or less in your KO area for one on your battlefield, and then you move everything over as normal. Okay. Sounds like a card which is going to cause some problems. What happens if the character I bring back from the KO area ends up with enough damage counters to KO it? Well, both characters will end up KO'd, but the character that started in the KO area will be on the battlefield for a short period of time, so any abilities that trigger when upgrades are moved onto the character will still happen. So let's say for argument's sake a field communicator is moved over, you would still scrap and potentially play the top card of your deck. If the character has any revenge abilities, say something along the lines of Raider Rumble, you would still use that revenge ability to deal 2 damage as long as Rumble was in ult mode at the moment it got KO'd, because remember it only has the skill in ult mode. Nice. Jam Signals is a secret action revealed when your opponent plays a blue action and you scrap it with no effect. Well, say my opponent has an ability that triggers when they play an action, they play a blue action, but I reveal Jam Signals to scrap it with no effect. Does their ability trigger? Yes. Although the blue action itself will have no effect, your opponent did still play an action, and for that reason they do get the benefit of having played the action. KINETIC INTENSIFIER Whip. That is one of these new cards, where it's a weapon, gives you +1 attack, and when you flip the upgraded character to another mode, it gains bold 2 until end of turn. Which of course leads to the fairly obvious question, what if I flip multiple times during my turn? Let's say I flip and then I play a rapid conversion to flip again. Bold 4. And again, this is one of these ones where you need to read it. I don't say that in a mean way, I say it in a let's see the language on the card. When you flip the upgraded character to another mode, it gets bold 2. You flip it, it gets bold 2. You flip it again, it gets bold 2, they add up to bold 4. If it said the first time you flip or once during your turn when you flip, it would be limited, but it doesn't, so it isn't. Lucky Vest is an armor, and when the upgraded character defends and you flip battle icons of at least 4 different colors, you cannot take more than 4 attack damage during this battle. Well, how does Lucky Vest interact with other effects that modify the amount of attack damage a character can take? And once again, and we've seen this a couple times in this FAQ already, Lucky Vest doesn't actually do anything in terms of how much attack damage is being done. There's no word instead here. So you wait for stuff like Blast Suit, you wait until the moment attack damage is actually being applied, and at the moment it's being applied, you go, oh, it's more than 4, let's drop it down to 4. Minor Medic Kit gives an upgraded character +2 health, and here the question is exactly the same as increased durability. What happens if Minor Medic Kit gets removed, and you've then got too much damage on, i.e. more damage than you have health? Instant KO, the second Minor Medic Kit leaves the field. Opportune Offensive / Opportune Repairs. What do they have in common? They are cards that only have an effect if you had a mercenary on your starting team. Does it matter if the mercenary on my team got KO'd before I tried playing those cards? Nope. Because the cards read, if you had a mercenary on your starting team, doesn't matter where that mercenary is now, just so long as you had them on your starting team. Overheat is a secret action. It is revealed when an enemy attacks and your opponent flips 7 or more battle cards. And when it is revealed, you go, right, this battle, no orange, no black icons do anything. So if it is revealed, do effects like Energized Field still actually work? Energized Field, as a quick reminder, came around in Wave 2. When the upgraded character defends and you flip at least 1 orange icon, do 1 damage to the attacker. We know that the orange doesn't add to the attack damage, but do you get to do the cheeky damage with Energized Field, or is that turned off as well? And the answer is, yup, you're good. Overheat stops orange adding to your attack, but it doesn't change the fact that you did flip an orange card, so you would get the cheeky damage. Overwhelming Advantage. For every Decepticon you have on the battlefield, you get Plan 1, And then when you attack this turn, if you've got all 5 colours of upgrades on the character, and you flip all 5 colours of upgrades, you do 15 damage to an enemy. Okay. So let's say you've got 3 Decepticons on the battlefield when you play Overwhelming Advantage. Can you just plan 2, i.e. just put 2 cards from your hand on top of your deck? And the answer is yes, because each plan is optional. You essentially get 3 different instances of plan 1. So you can choose to do it 0, 1, 2, or 3 times. If you just want to put 2 cards on top of your deck with plan, just put 2 on top of your deck with plan. Do I have to choose one of my characters when I play Overwhelming Advantage? Yes. Yes, you do. Even if you have 2 characters with the right upgrades and you had planned to attack with both of them during your turn, not entirely sure how you've managed to pull that off without the upgrades getting removed or the characters being KO'd. But let's say you do. You choose which character will be affected when you play Overwhelming Advantage. So let's say it actually works. You flip all 5 icons. You actually get to do the 15 damage. Does your opponent flip battle cards to defend? No. As we've said before, the second the KO happens, the attack stops. You flip to attack, which always happens before flipping to defend. The KO happens then. Your opponent doesn't flip to defend, there's nothing to defend. Pincer Movement. One of my favourite cards in the set. It is an action card, and when one of your Decepticons attacks an enemy this turn, you get an extra attack this turn with one of your other Decepticons against the same enemy. 2 against 1. So if you play Pincer Movement but the first attack ends up KOing the defender, do I still get to attack again? No. Because Pincer Movement lets you attack the same enemy again. If the enemy is no longer there, then there's nobody to attack. Relentless Invasion. Relentless Invasion is a lovely card whereby if you've got Triptychon on the battlefield, you put Full Tilt, Wipeout and Brunt from your KO area onto the battlefield fully repaired. They all attack this turn, and then they go back under Triptychon at the end of the turn. Can you still attack with another character this turn? Yes. The characters put onto the battlefield will all attack that turn, one at a time, but you can still attack with a character as normal, which is pretty much going to be Triptychon, because as it stands at the moment, that's your only option. He's 24 stars, alright? But it's nice, it confirms that you get extra attacks, not they are your attack for the turn. What happens if one of the characters I put onto the battlefield is somehow KO'd before the turn ends? Is it still put under Triptychon? Nope. At the end of your turn, you put it from the battlefield under Triptychon. It does say that is still on the battlefield. If they're not on the battlefield, they don't come back. Can you play this card if only 1 or 2 of those 3 characters are in the KO area? Of course you can. Go nuts. Be nice. It is an up to, essentially. If you've only got 1 or 2, only grab 1 or 2. Attack with the ones you grabbed, put them under Triptychon at the end of the turn. Reprocess. You scrap an upgrade from any character and repair 2 damage from that character. Any character? Yep. Yours or your opponent's, even if there's no damage to repair. So you could actually use this to get rid of one of your opponent's upgrades. That would be fine. Or there is actually a really fun combo here with Ratchet, because you see, Ratchet's got a skill in bot mode. When you repair damage, this gets +1 until end of turn for each damage repaired. Even as was confirmed in a previous ruling, even if you repair your opponent. So if you've got no damage to repair, you could repair damage from one of your opponent's other characters to give you +2 attack this turn. How cool is that? Shoulder Holster is a lovely little card we're getting. Upgrade utility, gives the upgraded character an extra weapon slot, and when you put it on a character, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a weapon, play it onto the upgraded character. And it's the same ruling as before. What happens if shoulder holster is scrapped? You choose which weapon to keep, unless you've somehow got 2 weapon slots otherwise. Step forward is a card we're getting. It's a secret action. You reveal it after your opponent chooses an attacker, but before they choose a defender, and it gives one of your Autobots Brave until end of battle. Once you reveal step forward and choose one of your Autobots, can your opponent change which of their characters is attacking? Nope. Your opponent locks in their attacker. You essentially choose a defender with Brave, then the battle happens. It is too late for your opponent to choose their attacker. Otherwise, we just end up in a loop from which we never escape. Sturdy Javelin, when it's on a melee character, they get +2 attack. When it's on a ranged character and that character attacks, you scrap the card and do 2 damage to an enemy. If Sturdy Javelin is on a ranged character, can I do 2 damage to any enemy, or must it be the defender? You can throw the javelin in any direction to hit any enemy. And again, if we look at the wording on the card here, it says an enemy, not the defender. And finally, Valuable Contract. Valuable Contract is an upgrade utility. When the upgraded character does enough attack damage to KO an enemy, you use this card's bounty ability, which is you choose a battle card you own from outside the game with exactly 1 star, and you put it into your hand. Do you have to show your opponent which card you're putting in hand? Yes, because your opponent has to verify that it is a star card with exactly 1 star. I'm looking at you, Ultra Magnus Armor. Because otherwise you could put whatever card you wanted, even if it didn't necessarily meet the requirements. That would be very naughty. Say you upgrade a character that already has a bounty ability with Valuable Contract, and then you do enough attack damage to KO an enemy. What happens? You get to use both bounty abilities. And as the active player, you get to choose the order in which it happens. However, it is only each skill once. You don't get to use both of them twice. There we go. Now, evidently, this has gone over half an hour, so there is going to have to be a part 3 to the FAQ. It's going to be lots of fun. For now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to know what you think about all of these rollings. Certainly, the multi-missile pod rolling for me sounds amazing, and as far as I'm concerned, makes that card a whole heap better. But I'd like to know what you think, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy. That's where we talk Transformers and whatever other games take our fancy. And do please consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, etc. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.